Now, if you've been paying attention to what's going on here on WLTH, even Juan M. Andrade from Nuestra Comunidad, he just had a lot of people on recently to talk about data centers and their effects. But this is one of the biggest stories of our time. Maybe the biggest story of the year, other than the war in Iran, is that these data centers are popping up everywhere. The fight over data centers. Oh my God, and all we hear from the elites and the corporate media and our politicians is we have to have so many data centers. We have to fight back against China. If we don't build a data center that completely takes up all the water and destroys the air quality and creates noise pollution all over the place, we'll lose the AI race to China, and then we'll all be Chinese slaves. Well, folks, the release of Kimi K3, which was developed by the company Moonshot AI in China, has become one of the biggest AI stories of this year. Okay, this is shaking up everything. This is shaking the entire artificial intelligence industry to its core, because it appears to have significantly narrowed the gap between the Chinese and the U.S. frontier AI models, while also reigniting a debate over intellectual property, national security, and the future of open source AI. Now, for the record here, China only has about 400 data centers in the entire country. The United States has 5,000 and counting. So what we've seen time and time again is that China's more efficient state-based strategy of deploying data centers outperforms our excessive private corporate capitalist version of the data centers. They are actually able to get more accomplished with less because they plan, they coordinate. As my man John Witherspoon said, you got to coordinate. You got to coordinate. And they coordinate. And so they don't need to build data centers in everybody's backyard and destroy the food and water and air and everything and people's peace of mind. They're also building data centers underwater, as we talked about some time ago. They are once again making the United States look sclerotic and old and slow. And this is just the latest embarrassment for the tech bros in Silicon Valley who have taken over our government. Now, what is Kimi K3? I know that's what you're asking. You're going, what is this man talking about, Kimi K3? What's he talking about? Okay, Kimi K3 is Moonshot AI, the Chinese company's newest flagship large language model that was released on July 16th. According to Moonshot, it is a 2.8 trillion parameter mixture of experts model. It is capable of handling 1 million tokens of context. It is designed for coding, reasoning, image understanding, and agentic workflows. It is planned to become an open weight model with the weight scheduled for public release on July 27th, which I believe is Monday. Independent benchmark reports suggest that it performs very close to the strongest public models from OpenAI and Anthropic, especially in coding and long context tasks. Now, this has Silicon Valley. The tech bros are freaking out, man. The tech bros are freaking out, man. Because a lot of AI researchers are seeing that Kimi K3 is evidence of a much larger shift. China is no longer viewed as catching up. They're not just catching up, everybody. They're here. They're here. And again, they are not having to completely destroy the quality of life of everybody in their country in order to keep up. Unlike the tech bros here in this country who've had to basically hollowed out our infrastructure and are creating this surveillance state in this country. All we get told is that China's a surveillance state. Meanwhile, they've got flock cameras on every corner, and they're keeping these data centers essentially to create the surveillance state that they would need to keep us in line because they're hollowing out everything in our society. this AI race is becoming much more about the geopolitics and intellectual property debates as much as it is about raw technical capability. It's very rich to see a lot of the tech bros who've plundered generations of intellectual property from artists, from, you know, designers, from everything, our greatest authors, everything, complaining about, well, China is ripping up our models. Oh my God. Your AI is solely built on ripping off other people's ideas. And now you want to get mad? And you want us to feel sorry for you while we're funding all this nonsense? We have more than 5,000 commercial data centers, by far the most in the entire world. Many of the world's largest AI clusters are right here in the United States. China has roughly 500. So again, they're able to do more with less. And that just shows you, I mean, we're seeing that with the cars. Oh my God, have you seen BYD's cars? Their electronic vehicles? I mean, they're taking over Europe, the United States. And it shows you that all these capitalists, and I've said this over and over again, the capitalists who run our society, they don't believe in anything really but white supremacy, really. Because they are willing to subvert capitalism the second they can't compete. They turn into socialists and communists the second they can't compete. They want to ban. They've already banned Chinese cars from hitting the markets here in America because they can't compete. And now they want to ban Chinese AI models because they can't compete. I thought you guys supported competition, huh? What happened? That's what you tell us. We can't have universal health care. We can't have universal college. We can't have things the rest of the world has in spades. In first world countries with higher living standards. We can't have a housing first policy to the homeless and all that. We got to compete. That's our economy. We got to compete. We capitalists. But then as soon as you get threatened, you go right for the government. Could you please keep the big bad China man out of the market because we can't compete? I thought you believed in free markets. That's what you tell us when you can't help us at all. So, and let me just say this. China's doing all this in spite of the fact that U.S. exports control have made it much harder for Chinese companies to obtain the newest NVIDIA chips. So as a result, Chinese firms have had to rely on domestically developed accelerators, stockpiled NVIDIA GPUs purchased before export restrictions, and engineering techniques to use what they got more efficiently. That's what they got, you know. And so just the spending gap between the Chinese and the Americans is like astronomical. You know, we're spending, companies like Microsoft, like Meta, like Amazon, like Google, like XAI are announcing capital expenditures that collectively reach into the hundreds of billions of dollars coming up in the next few years. Much of that is directed towards AI infrastructure. China is only spending tens of billions of dollars. We are giving Larry Ellison and all these guys, the tech bros, hundreds of billions of dollars to create a surveillance state that they say is supposed to be about preserving democracy and liberty and our capitalist system, but it is designed specifically like everything else they design is, to destroy competition, to not allow fair competition, but to concentrate wealth at the top. They're not practicing capitalism, they're practicing plutocracy and oligarchy. That's who they are. They're plutocrats and they're oligarchs. The rule of the very rich plutocracy, the rule of the very few, oligarchy. So Kimi K3 is such a big deal because many observers expected a country with significantly less access to cutting edge chips to be much farther behind the United States and our tech bros. But Kimi K3 is very competitive at a much lower price with much fewer resources. China has become very effective at squeezing more performance out of available resources through better model architectures, more efficient training, improved software optimization, higher quality data sets, and specialized engineering. So if we're going to use a car as, say, an example, the US has the fastest engine still. But China appears to become better at tuning the car, the vehicle itself. And so it gets more performance. Meanwhile, we just have a fast car that's careening wildly all over the place. And this is why, once again, it's important for us to stay politically engaged in this country. The people we have allowed to accumulate all the wealth and power in our society, they did that saying that, well, if you let us have all this control, we will be able to protect you, or we'll be able to maintain a certain status quo that will benefit you. Well, we're all seeing that to lie now. At least you'll be able to say you're way better than China. No. Did you know Chinese people, the average Chinese citizens on average, eat more calories per day than the average American citizen does? Did you know that? I bet you didn't know that. The average Chinese citizen eats more calories per day than the average American citizen does. Now, this isn't to glaze China or make China out to be the greatest thing in the world. But what I am saying is that our system is not designed specifically to benefit us. It's designed to benefit the rich, the wealthy elites in our society. That's who it's designed to help. It ain't designed to help us do anything, to help us stay ahead of China, competitive. It is designed to put money in the tech bros' pockets, in the Donald Trump and all his friends' pockets, the elites' pockets, and help. Now they're building a surveillance state now that many of us are waking up so that we can't overthrow them and that we can't fight back against them. I mean, just go Google it. Opponents of data centers have been getting thrown in jail, have had the police show up in the house and being accused of, well, you're saying you're threatening people. No, I just said I was against the data center and I'm against this politician who's supporting data centers. Well, you can't say that. I thought we had a First Amendment in America. I thought this was a free country. Well, not when it affects data centers. We consider it a threat when you come out against data centers. And this is why it's what we talked about in the very at the top of the show too with Israel is important too, because in the near future we won't be able to criticize Israel without going to jail too, or without having the police stop by our house to threaten us about, well, you know, they're saying that you're saying bad things about Israel, or you're saying bad things, we don't want you. No. I thought this was about preserving freedom. That's what they told us. They wanted to preserve freedom of speech. They wanted to preserve freedom and liberty and the free markets and all these other. These people never cared about any of that nonsense. And this is why I especially hate to see black people who are very, tethered to this system here in America. They who actually believe in this system. Well, if you do the right thing, you fight for your country. Dude, this country has always been a scheme. Or at least the people who run this country, the elites, have always been scammers. They didn't want to do work, so they got slaves. They took the Native Americans' land, like killed off all them. This has always been a scam for these people. So no, I'm not I'm sorry. I'm not going to just laud and applaud the United States of America government or our system, our capitalist corporatist system here. That don't mean I'm a communist. That don't mean I'm a socialist. But I do look at the rest of the world and see that America is way down on the list of quality of life. Way down the list now. We may be top 10 to a bunch of other countries that have universal health care, that often have universal higher education, that actually tax their billionaires and don't allow them to run over their government. Countries like Finland don't allow the rich kids to have their own schools separate from everybody else. Everybody has to go to school together because their countries aren't just merely ways to concentrate wealth upward. Ours is. And time again, China has shown us that the people running our country are frauds, like legitimate frauds. As Victor likes to talk about, the neoliberalism, the privatization, it's about privatizing the commons. They buy up the commons, they get rich, the rest of us get screwed. And now, again, Kimi K3, the AI models that China's producing on a shoestring budget in comparison to what we're doing, showing once again that these people aren't even competent. They are wasting money, often taxpayer money. What are they doing? Why are you constantly being outperformed by people who have far less resources than you? What is this really about? What are we doing here? And where are we going? 1984, Brave New World. Great book. I just finished reading really two books, Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents by the late, great, brilliant sister, Octavia Butler, E. Butler. I highly suggest these books before I have to go to a break. I know I got to go to a break. The books, basically, this sister wrote them back in the early 90s. And it's very eerie about how she was very apt at predicting our future. The future she predicted for the 2020s in America was climate change is going to kick our behinds, that there would be a rise in fascism, Christo-fascism, and that there'd be an authoritarian who would come to power who wanted to make America great again, but really was just a crook. I guess that's where we're going. I guess that's where we are. All right, folks, when we come back, we are going to get into social media. Should we be banning kids off of social media? We're seeing bans pop up here and there all over the world. Should we be doing something similar for our young people? Please give me a call, 219-885-1371. That number again is 219-885-1371. I'm Scott Cannon. This is Straight Out of the Cannon here on WLTH. Please stick around.